whoa. Get out the way, get out the way, get out the way, yeah. Get out the way, get the fuck up out my way, yeah. Win.
Yo, welcome to Millennial Sport Talk. This is episode 8, and this is a special edition episode because of just a lot of things that have been going on the Twitter world. We know this week there's been the first football game, so we'll cover reactions and analysis of the two teams, the Eagles and the Falcons, squared off. But also, we had a lot of drama in Pittsburgh with the absence of Le'Veon Bell. And as of today, right now, we still got 2 more hours for him to show up. But I go ahead and start recording this because, let's just be honest, he's not showing up. And I have my theory for why he's not showing up. But first, we have to go through the entire outline of what's happened so far for you to truly understand how I came to the conclusion and why people have this fake outrage for Bell that's not deserved. He doesn't deserve any type of outrage. Bell has had his opportunities to be honest. He's had his opportunities to be fair and realistic, but there's all the evidence in the world to suggest that he's just a selfish player and he does not care about winning as much as he cares about an extra $5 million in his bank account when it comes down. So we all know that Le'Veon Bell was drafted in 2013. He actually missed the first 4 games of that season to a Lisfranc injury. No big deal. But in 2014, when his team signed the LeGarrette Blount during a preseason game, this guy decided to not only smoke weed before the game, okay, have weed on him, and was irresponsible enough to miss the team plane and actually got arrested because they were late. They were running late, and they ended up getting stopped by the police with weed on them. That's a lot of people smoke weed. There's nothing wrong with smoking weed unless your job depends on you not to smoke weed, and this is a job that you get paid millions of dollars doing. Then it's kind of like, okay, are you going to risk millions of dollars just so that you can get high? Mm-hmm. Like, what are you getting? You're a professional athlete. So yeah, he was young. We gave him the benefit of doubt. He's 21, whatever years old. But the next year, he faces 2-game suspension in 2015, and at some point during that year, what does he do? He fails to take his test. So now you're looking and you're like, okay, so you were dumb enough to get caught with weed and smoking weed, going to the team plane. Like, if anything, you're like, okay, I'm gonna be around the team and the coaches on the plane. Let me leave this weed behind. No, he kept it on him in the car. Then he knows, like, if you are somebody who's like, okay, I can't do this again, I can't slip up, you're going to make sure you take every drug test. You're going to make sure you get everything. He misses multiple drug tests. Not one, he missed multiple drug tests. And what's his excuse? He comes on to Twitter, but social media, whatever have you, he puts a video out saying, hey guys, I'm sorry, what I own up to my actions. I wanted to let you know it was a random test. Okay, so like, these hints, he's hinting at his immaturity, that he is thinking that the fact that it's a random test makes it okay for him to miss it. That somehow, anybody would miss a random test. No, it's not. It's the NFL. They know how to get in contact with you. Hey, let's just rewind that. His initial excuse was that his contact information changed so they couldn't reach him. But it's multiple tests. It's multiple tests that you missed, and you weren't cognizant, or, it's not that important to you to say, hey, I know I just got a new number. I know that my career is relying on the fact that I clear these tests and that I'm not smoking weed. And he didn't think to update or let the NFL know that his contact information. This is the type of mental capacity that he has, the intelligence and the responsibility that he lacks. This is the character that you're seeing by his actions, not by what he says. We're not assuming this. This is a result of his actions. And he decided that smoking weed was important. He decided that rap music was very important. He decided that taking these drug tests was not important at that time. So given that, Now we move on to the next saga of the Bell situation. So in this video that he apologizes, he also admitted that the last time he smoked was December 2014. Keep in mind, he was drafted 2013. He could have been smoking during that. In 2014, during the season is December, he was also smoking. So that's also a bad look that you're smoking during the season when you're supposed to be taking drug tests, given the fact that you just got caught with weed in the preseason of that same season. You're still smoking. Okay, we remember this. At the time, we can let it slide. But now we remember it. Okay, so the next saga of this situation is now we know that Bell's been injured and he's been suspended. By this time in 2016, he's been injured twice already with the Liz Frank in an ACL and basically an MCL in the 2016 season. And what happens? What does he decide to do? He decides to come out in a rap song. His musical career says he wants $15 million a year, and they know that. He marks his value at $15 million a year. Despite what you want to think about the tactic or the method, he personally came up with $15 million a year is what he saw his value in 2016. That is, that's just a statement of fact, and that's what we're going to use as a baseline for what he's expecting to start his negotiation. But, as I'll get later on, he's not negotiating. He's trying to extort the Steelers. That's what he wants to. He doesn't want to negotiate. He wants to extort. So going from $15 million a year in his rap song, during 2016, when he's already been suspended twice for the substance abuse and whatever, in the beginning of 2015 season and beginning of 2016 season, he faced those two suspensions and he's been injured. Now he's talking about $15 million a year. And the next highest paid running back at the time was LaShawn McCoy, who's making $8 million a year. That's about twice as much as the LaShawn McCoy. And let's not pretend like LaShawn McCoy he's not one of the best receiving running backs as well. He plays 3 downs. He gets a ton of yardage as a receiver, and he's on a much worse offense. He's still producing numbers in Buffalo. So just keep that in mind. We're in 2017, this year of 2017. This guy comes out, and they're negotiating, and Bell reportedly turns down a deal that would pay him roughly $12.5 million a year. What does he do? He comes out and says, I want to be paid like the number 1 running back, which he is, and a number 2 receiver, which he's not, because he's not lining up wide every time. As much as you want to critically acclaim that you want to get number 2 receiver money, which he gets some good stats, but part of being a number 2 receiver and getting paid that full $8 million a year is that you're full time out wide beating corners, and you're taking away a very valuable piece from the defense with the attention that you'll get as a number 2 receiver. He's not getting that. He's in a backfield where 9 times out of 10, he's not making any moves. He's just catching the ball, and he already has that advantage from being in the backfield where the number 2 receiver, who was Martavis Bryant at the time, or Darius Hayward-Bayes, is taking a lid off the defense and forcing those safeties back, which gives him room. So it's not a 1-for-1, this is what I'm doing the same as a wide receiver number 2. You're not doing the same thing as a wide receiver number 2. You're in the backfield like a running back. The same thing LaShawn McCoy does. The same thing David Johnson does. Nothing that you do is that different than what they do. You're a little bit more productive than them at it because of the offense you're in. The offense you're in allows you the freedom to have that space where they can't put that attention to you because we have those more talented receivers and a more talented quarterback and a more talented offensive line. So given all that, that's just the context of this. He's in 2017 basically putting his number from $15 million now up to around 16, and he ultimately denied the contract for 12.5 and decided to play on the franchise tag at 12.1 million in 2017. Now keep in mind, if he had taken that deal, he would have secured his future, which, securing your future right at 2017, and if it's a 4-year deal or 5-year deal, 4-year deal, he's 25, you would be eligible for another contract by the age of 28, 29. I don't know how it exactly lines up, but you could potentially get another pretty big deal. If a 28-year-old running back, you could have decided to sign a 3-year deal. You get the 3 years and then you get another deal. After that, you have time to do that. But, by deciding to play on a franchise tag, you kind of lose a year because now your contract is only a 1-year deal. So you have to re-sign it again next year. Yeah, so as a recap, he's asked for $15 million before the season. During the season, in the 2016-2017 year, he pulls his hernia. And then after pulling his hernia and he's injured and recovering from that, he says he basically wants around $16 million. So now he plays for the tag, on the tag, and $12 million. This is this past year. He was making $12 million per year. He set out all of preseason camp. That had its own thing, but there wasn't, the players supported him. You go back and look at the quotes, Ben, AB, Pouncey, everybody supported him. Even, Foster, nobody had any criticism for Bell for sitting out at that time. He came back when he came back, and ultimately we had a pretty good season. We went 13-3 until not too long ago before the playoffs. We're heading into the playoff hunt. Somebody asked Bell about his contract in January, and what does this guy say? He says that he would consider retiring if he doesn't get the deal he wants before a playoff. Why would you even, again, we go back to his intelligence and his maturity levels. And if you're an intelligent and a mature player, you do not bring up contract negotiations when nobody can do anything about it. You should be smart enough to understand that they cannot give you a new deal until the season's over and your season is not over. Instead, you decide to open your mouth, create another distraction heading into the playoffs. Furthermore, he backs that up by putting more fuel to the fire by not showing up for the team practice right before the game. That game was on Sunday. They had a workout or walkthrough, whatever, a team event, team practice on Saturday, and he did not show up to the practice. What kind of message does that send to your teammates, your locker room, that you're all fighting for this one common goal, that not only you're the same guy who showed up late for a preseason game, that showed up late, he was high, he had weed, just got arrested, then he gets suspended, and then he misses tests, and now he's missing practices for a playoff game. Nobody said anything about it, but we let it slide. Let it slide again, and then we ended up losing the game to Jacksonville. And 2 months after missing that practice, 2 months after losing in the playoffs, when you had one of the best teams in the NFL, one of the best chances to win a Super Bowl, you're not concerned about getting back to that point. What do you talk about? Oh, I want as much money as AB. I want to get $17 million a year. So now you're changing the goalpost from 15 to 16, and now you're at $17 million. This is not a negotiation. This is an extortion. You're talking about you're going to retire if you don't get what you want. You're not negotiating. You're using extortion tactics, and you're being irresponsible and stupid. That's what you're being the entire track path that we're getting to this point, the off season, and then of course, we try to work out a deal. The tag's $14.5 million. Who gets quoted saying, "Oh, I want to get a deal with $14.5 million now." And what do? We offer you $14 million per year, 5 years, $70 million. That's security. You got 5 years on a deal, $70 million, $14 million. The next highest paid running back at this point is Devontae Freeman. Devontae Freeman is making $8.25 million per year. And you're getting a full $6 million more than Devontae Freeman. And you say no. Why? Oh, now the hang-up's guaranteed money. First it was you wasn't getting the number you wanted. Now it's 14 is $500,000. Multiply that times 5 is not even $3 million difference. It's not $3 million. You're getting $70 million versus $73 million. And your hang-up is the guaranteed money. What he's talking about is the guaranteed money. Now that we're talking about guaranteed money, let's really talk about guaranteed money. Guaranteed money is basically money that you get up front in the form of a signing bonus. Now, there's also guaranteed incentives that you can get if you meet certain criteria in a contract. Those aren't truly guaranteed because if you're not the top 3 rusher, you don't get that. But they call that guaranteed money sometimes when they talk about total guaranteed money. So truly, when we talk about guaranteed money, we're just talking about a sign-on bonus. And that's where Pittsburgh does their decision to how much they give you in a sign-on bonus differently. Why do they do that? Because if you look at the history of players who get that second contract and they're homegrown, meaning the Steelers drafted you, you played out your rookie deal, and now that second contract, you're getting Steelers honor 88% of their contracts from anybody. This is not star players. Bell's a star player. We're talking about any player. They honor 88% on average to their players. And that's sort of a remarkable figure that is essentially guaranteed. If you're going to get 88% of that next contract, that's essentially guaranteed. 70 million. If you do an 88% of 70 million, you're getting more than 60 million of that deal. So using that 88% figure, which Bell would likely see 100% that he was offered, he would get 62 million, which is still more than way more than any running back's ever seen. I want to bring up some examples because some people say, oh, what could happen to this? No. The worst example that the Pittsburgh Steelers have of not paying a player on their second deal was LaMarr Woodley. And if you follow LaMarr Woodley, he signed a deal in 2011 for about $62 million for, I think it was 6 years. He actually played half of that, you could say 3 years of the 6 years before the Steelers finally cut him, because in 2011, in 2012, and in 2013, he was hurt every single year. But before the start of 2014 season, LaMarr Woodley came into camp overweight and out of shape. And that's when the Steelers just had enough. He hadn't been playing the full season for the last 3 years. He's been hurt. And then he comes into camp injured and out of shape. Yeah, no, that you can't get mad at. Like, if Bell signed a $70 million a year deal this past year, this season he gets hurt. Next season he gets hurt. The season after that he gets hurt. And then he comes into camp out of shape. Oh, and he's already old. He'll be 30 years old, a 30-plus-year-old player coming in shape, out of shape. That's unacceptable. You don't deserve to be. You're a professional athlete, and you've been hurt. You haven't been contributing. There's no excuse for you at that point in time. So the Steelers were perfectly validated for this decision to cut LaMarr Woodley, and that's the only example that you can really bring up where the Steelers didn't honor the full contract of a star player on his second-year deal. And LaMarr Woodley still saw 62% of that deal. When you really do the figures, he saw about 45 million of the 62 that he was promised. So guaranteed money is not an issue with the Steelers. They're not going to cut you after 1 year. They're not going to cut you after 2 years. Realistically, you're going to get at least 3 of those 5 years that Bell was getting. And as long as you're coming to camp and you're healthy, or you're just giving 100% and you're in shape, that's really it is. Just be in shape, have a good attitude, and the Steelers are going to honor their contract. They're going to honor their word. But Bell doesn't care about that history, because Bell is a selfish player, and he just wants to be right. That's all it is to him. It's just about being right and about getting what he wants. It's not a negotiation, like I said. It's an extortion. He doesn't care how honorable, how much the Steelers brand is. He doesn't care about the team. He only cares about himself. And that guaranteed money is just a third change in a goalpost, a backhanded slap of, oh, well, I'm just going to throw another reason out why I don't want to sign this deal because it's not the deal that I put out there. He's not negotiating. He's extorting. The Steelers, after July 16th was the last day they could work a deal with him. After that point, the Steelers cannot negotiate or offer a new deal until after the season is over. Bell cannot sign anything. The Steelers cannot offer anything until after the 2018 season is over. That was in July. So knowing this, Bell has spent the last month and a half, nobody's really seen him. The last time I've seen him was in April on Twitter. You can see he was at a concert, his own concert, rapping, whatever. All of a sudden, we had a promise back in March from him that he would be in a facility week 1. He will be ready to go. He's not going to camp. He made that clear up front, which was good. He had communication to the fans and the media, but more importantly, he had communication with the players. So that's why there was no complaint from our teammates from our locker room about Bell's absence during training camp. Nobody had any issues. It wasn't any drama because we knew that he was transparent and we trusted his word despite his history that he would show up because he did so last. Let's rewind to August. Sometime in August or in late July. It was actually late July. Todd Gurley actually signed a deal, an extension. It wasn't a new contract. It was an extension that ultimately paid him $12 million per year as an starting, after his next 2 years, he would get a total of about $57 million with about $20 million guaranteed as part of this deal, which $12 million, we talked about that. $12 million is what the Steelers offered back in 2016. Todd Gurley is about the same age, maybe younger, and not nearly the amount of injuries that Bell has had. And Todd Gurley is way more important to the Rams team than Bell is to the Steelers. At least the Steelers have Ben Roethlisberger and AB. The Rams don't have anybody else on offense of that caliber. So he's more important to the Rams than Bell is to the Steelers. And he took less money to play with the Rams after initially he wanted $80 million. It was caught in a quote. He said, "Yeah, these NBA players make $150 million. I just want $80 million." What did he do? He negotiated and he dropped down $23 million to $57 million and got his deal and signed away without sitting out. He's not even due a deal. He didn't play on a franchise tag. He's 2 years away from playing on a franchise tag. He went ahead and negotiated that deal. That's what a true team player does. Point is that he values winning, and he's going to be set for life. He's getting over $50 million off this 1 year, off this one deal. So, and Bell seeing that, knowing that he would not take that deal, obviously he's going to play the PR. So then we get into August where Mack got paid, Rodgers got paid, Aaron Donald got paid. He's seeing all these figures. You can say that might change his mind, but I don't think that's what happened. I don't think we haven't seen Bell. Now you're getting August. I haven't seen Le'Veon Bell walking around and doing any training. If you pay attention to the Steelers and to Bell, consistently posting training videos throughout the year and last year. And this year, we're not seeing that. Kind of curious to me. You get to Monday, Labor Day, he's not showed up. Tuesday, he's not showed up. Then finally, he sends a message to the media and his teammates. And at this point, I didn't have any assumption that he had not spoken with his teammate because nobody was saying anything. And my assumption is that he would come in at some point this week. But he allows his agent to send out a public message saying, "Oh yeah, Bell's going to preserve his health. He may not show up till week 10, blah, 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 blah." You can read the message. I'll post it here. But why are you doing this when you could just show up to camp? You know the Steelers can't work a deal with you. You know that you can't sign a deal. What are you doing now? You're throwing your teammates under the bus. That's what you're doing. You didn't say anything to your teammates. You had your agent speak. Why do you think Ramon Foster put "Where's Waldo" meme up on Bell? Because nobody's seen him. Nobody's talked to him. That's pretty fucked up for a guy that you've been with for, 4 or 5 years now, that you've had his back for 4 or 5 years here. Through all the drama he's had, through the suspensions, the multiple injuries, they've blocked for him, they've had his back, and he doesn't have the decency and the courtesy to let you know if he's going to show up or not. Just tell him. They even said, Pouncey is like, "Look, just if you weren't going to show up, just tell us. We're not, they've been together for this long. You can't trust them now?" That's messed up, man. Bell, that's the kind of person. He's a slimy dude. So what we have is from the agent and from Bell himself, consistent intentions to show up for week 1. Even Pouncey said on Monday, was that September 3rd, that count on Bell to be there. So they had some type of communication where he's like, "Yeah, Bell's going to be there, no problem, no sweat." Wednesday comes along and Bell's not there. Come on, you trying to tell me you won't be pissed if your friend that you're sticking up for, you're defending for the last 4 years since 2014, now has thrown the team under the bus again. Thrown you under the bus after you publicly said. Now, obviously, we don't know the extent of what type of conversation they had, but the fact that if you're Le'Veon Bell, I'm sure you're paying attention, and that somebody's trying to contact you, you should be clear if you're not going to show up Wednesday. He should have said something. It appears like he did it. And when he doesn't show up Wednesday, what happens? His agent comes out and his agent sending these messages when Bell's not talking himself. That's a pussy move, man. He's a punk. That's a punk move. And you're just going to sit out And I think this is where it becomes interesting because he said something extraordinary happened to him. All these other people that got deals, Mac and Rogers, if you really think about it, it doesn't matter what deal they had because Bell will be able to use that leverage in the offseason of what deal they got. He can use that after the season. But now all of a sudden he's changing his intentions, changing his word, and now he hasn't, and that's the other thing, he hasn't said he's not going to play. He hasn't committed to anything. So if you're not coming out and saying you're not going to play, you're not coming out saying you are going to play, my only guess is that something happened that is going to prevent you from committing to playing because you yourself doesn't know when you're going to be able to play. We know it's not in the Steelers' hands. It has to be on Le'Veon Bell's hands because the Steelers can't offer a deal. July 16th is gone and past at this point. The only thing that could make sense is that Le'Veon Bell injured himself. We haven't seen him. He's not on Snapchat. He doesn't have any videos. He's not doing concerts. Nobody's seen Bell. That's what Ramon Foster is alluding to when he put the Where's Waldo hat on him. Nobody's seen Bell. He's not committing to, if you're not going to play, just say you're not going to play to week 10. He's not saying that. If you're going to come in week 10, say it. If you're going to come in week 1, say it. We thought he was coming in, but it's past 4 o'clock Saturday. You're not coming in. You're missing that check. You're willing to miss $10 million of money for what? It's because he's hurt. And if he's hurt, that's going to hurt his value even more. It's going to make him look stupid. And people are going to crucify him in the media. Right now, the media is on his side because they just want to take the hot take. They don't want to look at the past history of everything we've seen. You can look at the quotes here. I put the quotes up from the players. The only person that brought up anything about money was Ramon Foster. And he's not talking about Bell's current contract negotiation. He's talking about the fact that this guy is getting paid and he's not coming to work. He could sign the contract right now and get paid if he wanted to make money. But he's not signing the contract. That's why he's not saying, whether or not he needs to sign it or whether or not he needs to make more money or if he's getting too much. The point is that there is an offer on the table and he's deciding not to play. I think Ramon Foster is saying it without saying it, that Bell is injured, and that's what he thinks is going on. That's what I think is going on. And I will be frustrated too because the whole reason for you not going to camp in the first place was to preserve your health so that you're not injured. But if you come in now and we find out you're injured, it's going to make you look stupid. It's going to make you look real dumb if you set out or you were on a stage, you were training by yourself, whatever have you, you were playing basketball, relaxing, and you tore your ACL or you twisted something in your knee or your ankle and now you can't play. Oh man, he wouldn't get another deal. So it might be a smart move for him not to actually show up and do all this because he's not going to get paid at all next season if it turns out that he has an ACL, MCL, another injury. He already has 4 of them. We already talked about those other 4. He's injured MCL, ACL, hernia, and a list frame. All 4 separate injuries, which is pretty bad. I think Bell is injured, and that's the support for him because really there's no other play. There's no reason to make any other move or leverage to gain other than to screw over your teammates, which I don't think he's really that much of a selfish player that he's just going to sit there healthy and screw over the entire team just so that he can make an extra $5 million, $3 million on a new deal. No, I don't think he can show up because he is hurt. That's why he's scared to talk to his teammates because if you tell your teammates that you're hurt, you're injured, that's a little different now. I don't know, especially since you've been doing all the stuff. He knows his past. He knows he's been irresponsible. And what makes you think he hasn't been irresponsible again to get himself injured? Who knows? We'll find out. I don't know. Maybe we will never find out. If he never shows up to week 10, he forfeits $10 million. And at that point, if he's not healed up, hopefully, I think his bet now is that he will be healed up. Hopefully, whatever injury he has, he'll be healed up by week 10, and then he can start getting back into it. But again, he's in a sticky situation, so he's playing his best hand, which is just have his agent spit out some nonsense. We've seen that from other people, have people talk for them when they're guilty. That's what happens when you're guilty. You have other people talk for you. And I think that's what we're seeing. You know, what's interesting is earlier, I think it was in 2018 or earlier, maybe in 2017, he's always talked about resetting the market, resetting the market. If you're going to reset the market, you can do that by being the highest paid running back. You don't have to reset the market by any extravagant number. Resetting the market is getting 75% more than the next highest paid running back, which is what he was doing. At this point, Devontae Freeman signed an $8.25 million per year deal. You can reset the market when you're getting $14 million per year. Now, if he would have done that, that would have reset the market, because now Gurley would have had to look at Bell's number to decide how much is he going to get paid, because Gurley really should be getting paid. He could, if Bell already had a deal, Gurley could have gotten a better deal. People say, "Oh, Gurley's not better than Bell." It doesn't matter. Look at Kirk Cousins. Is Kirk Cousins better than Aaron Rodgers? At the time, Aaron Rodgers didn't have that new deal. He had an older deal. Aaron Rodgers was making 27. We can look up the figures, but we know that he wasn't getting a fully guaranteed deal, pay him $30 million per year. That's what Matt Ryan got. That's what Kirk Cousins got. We know he's not that good. We know those two players aren't better than Aaron Rodgers. And we know none of these guys are better than Tom Brady. But guess what? They reset the market because it's always about the latest deal. It's not about the highest deal. It's about whoever signed the last deal. And Bell would have been the highest in the latest deal at $14 million. Gurley probably could have got 14.5, 14.25. But at the time, the only thing the Rams could use for their leverage, Devontae Freeman's 8.25 was the highest running back. He got 12. So he took 50% more than the next highest paid guy. He worked out good. That's called a good negotiation. You got 50% more than the next guy in the NFL at your position. That's a good deal. I think that maybe now Bell wants to get 18 million. Who knows what Bell wants? But if he would have reset the market first, Gurley could have got paid. And that's another reason why Bell is a phony, slimy dude, because he makes up these lies. Oh, I'm looking out for everybody else. I'm the victim here. I'm trying to help other people, not me. That's wrong. If that was the case, that's a complete lie. If that was the case, you would have signed your deal at 14. Gurley could have got 14.5. Now Zeke, he could get 15. David Johnson can get 15, and then the next guys can get 15.5. That's how it works. Quarterback salaries don't just jump up. They gradually go higher and higher and higher. Flacco did that first, and then after Flacco was like Stafford or Matt Ryan and so forth. They keep going higher based off the last guy who got paid. And let's get, if he doesn't know it, then he's just not very smart, which I've already alluded to. But his agent knows it. His agent, if you look at the reports, his agent and his mother told him to take the deal last year. He said no. He overruled them. They serve him, so they said, okay, we'll say no. And this guy he's not interested in anybody but himself. He's not interested in helping the team. He's not interested in helping his fellow peer running backs. He's not interested in helping anybody but himself. And right now, it appears he's injured and he can't do anything but tear everything down, what it means to be a Steeler. And the thing is, the Steelers aren't going to give in to his extortion. He's just going to walk. In fact, the Steelers can still, if they really wanted to, which I don't really recommend, they could slap a transition tag on him just to slap him in the face. But the Steelers don't do business like that. That's why we pay out 88% of our deals. If the Steelers slapped on a transition tag on Bell, Bell would then be forced. He could still negotiate deals with other teams, but say a team came around and offered him $60 million, the same thing as Gurley, and that's the best deal he got, the Steelers could match him and he would have to play. That's why he said he threatened to retire, because you think he'll give up $60 million? That's what might happen. You know, if you want to retire and just rap, you're going to lose all those rap fans that are still. You're going to lose all. Nobody really cares that you rap. They just care that you play football. That's what it comes down to. I would very much like to bet that he would not make $60 million in a rap career if he decides to retire after this season when he doesn't get the $80 million or $75 million that he's looking for. Because if the Steelers put a transition tag on him, which they should do, they could still match that deal, and he's still in Pittsburgh. So all his excuses, you just got to track each excuse, and he keeps making things up only because he wants to extort the Steelers. He doesn't want to negotiate. Now we're talking about his actual value with his stats. And just on the basic line, his number one primary, is to get rushing yards. Get rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. Let's just look at rushing yards. Rushing yards, Bell has actually only been in the top 5 of rushing leaders for a complete season 3 out of the 5 years he's been in the NFL. That's not bad, but if you want that, you're trying to get paid over 75% more than the next guy. And now with Gurley's contract, we don't know how much he really wants, but he said to report as much as $17 million. $17 million would be $5 million more per year than Gurley. You're not playing like the number one running back. He's never led the NFL in rushing his entire career. Of the 5 years, he's never been number one on the rushing list. In fact, the highest he's finished, I think, was number 3. Actually, it was number 2 back when his second year in the NFL. He finished second in rushing yards. So you've only been in the top 5 3 times. You finished second once. Look at AB's numbers. He's always first, second, or third. He's always top 3 for the past 5 years. That's why he gets paid what he gets paid. You're not doing that. You're not. And realistically, if you're not doing your primary job better than anybody else, you can't definitively say you're the best. He did offer to pay you like the best running back, but realistically, he's not the best running back. And his best years are behind him. And that's what hurts running backs' value, is that their best years are the first 5 years of his career. The first 5 years of career are their best years. Obviously, there's some anomalies involved, but, I mean, you could just look at the last few years. So last year, who led the league in rushing? It was Kareem Hunt. Who was second? Gurley. Both of these guys haven't been in the league more than 3 years. And then to round out the top 10, you got Fournette and Elliott, who also finished in the top 10. And Fournette's a rookie, and Elliott's only a second-year player. So of the players that are in the top 10, you have Melvin Gordon, Fournette, Elliott, Gurley, and Hunt, who've all drafted within the last 3 years. Jordan Howard, he was drafted in 2016, 17. So, yeah, he's also a second-year player. So, really, of the top 10 rushers last year, you had Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon, Jordan Howard, Todd Gurley, and Kareem Hunt. 60% of the top 10 rushers were drafted within the last 3 years and are playing on rookie deals. They're playing on rookie deals. So why would you invest so much money in a running back when he's not going to stay at the top for long, is what really comes down to. Quarterbacks and receivers, they stay at the top of their game, at the top of their position for a much longer time period than running backs do. You can do the numbers. I don't have time to do the numbers because I put this video out in time for do other predictions. But we can look at another year, 2016. 2016, the top rushers was Ezekiel Elliott, Jordan Howard, Jay Ajayi, David Johnson, Devontae Freeman. And those 5, again, half the top 10 are running on rookie deals. LaShawn McCoy, obviously, he's been around. He's only making $8 million a year. He's in the top 10. LeGarrette Blount, who hasn't gotten paid at all from anybody, really, not the numbers that Bell's looking for, he's in the top 10. And then DeMarco Murray might have been the oldest guy who's actually retired now. So he was third in the NFL, and now he's out of a job. So some people might say, oh, well, that's even more reason for him wanting to get paid. He's been trying. We've offered him deals. We offered him $70 million. We offered him these deals, and he still doesn't want to take it. And that's his own fault. The Steelers pay 88% of their contracts, like I said, and he doesn't want to take it. He's digging his own grave, and all this waiting and time he's doing is just hurting his value even more, because every year he is older, the less likely people are going to believe in him that he's going to keep that production. It comes down to it. We've looked at a lot of the information, not even all of it. There's a lot more information I could have brought up, but Bell's shown that he can't be trusted. Bell's shown that he's irresponsible and not the best decision maker for himself, and Bell has shown to be injury prone. Bell lacks the top end speed that some of these other guys have at finishing plays. If you really look at Bell's 30-yard or more carries, he trails Gurley tremendously in this category, and Gurley's in his first 3 years. So really, since Bell's been in the league, so when it comes down to it, Bell is playing a losing game, and he's losing right now. So for him to go all in and be this desperate, I think it's because he's injured, and he knows that that's going to have huge ramifications if he shows up to the Steelers injured and he can't perform for another couple weeks. He thinks that's going to hurt him in the long run more than the $10 million he's losing in the short run. And I think that's the best explanation as to why he's not showing up yet. He wants to heal up with his injury. Once he's healed, or he has an idea of when he can be healed, then he's like, okay, I'll show up this date. But he doesn't have that date because he's not going to the team doctors. And maybe he has a good idea of when he will, but announcing it, I'll show up week 7. Why are you deciding arbitrarily to show up week 7? More questions are going to come up. That's why his agent's talking, so that he doesn't have to answer any questions personally. The guy's hiding something. That's what's going on. He's hiding, and that's why Ramon Foster put the Where's Waldo, because your boy Juice is hiding, and he doesn't want us to know something because it will impact his contract negotiations. So before you cape up for Bell, go ahead, dig into the information. I showed you a lot of information. If you want to pull up some other stuff, we can debate. But don't just come talking this nonsense, only the guaranteed money matters. Guaranteed money is important, but you get paid all of other money rather than guarantee is not the only thing that you get paid off of. You're just ignorant and stupid if you look at a contract and you think the Steelers are going to cut them after 1 year. As long as you don't get cut after the first year, you're going to get money that's not guaranteed. So shut up and stop bringing stupid arguments to the case when you don't know anything about contracts. Sorry, that was a rant directed at some of the people on Twitter who don't understand what a guarantee or what a contract is and why guaranteed money is different than the other money. The other money is still money. It still goes in your pocket and spends the same way. You just have to make the roster. And for somebody like Le'Veon Bell, making the roster is a given. Okay, we're not going to give you a 5-year deal and cut you after 1 year. That happens to other teams, but it doesn't happen on the Steelers. It never does. Another stupid argument. Somebody tried to pull out dumb stuff like the Steelers have a terrible offensive line. Under what planet? What league are you watching? Here, I'll bring this stat up really quick. So if you look at Pro Football Focus, I'm showing this graphic now on Pro Football Focus. The Steelers last year had the 4th best offensive line rated. They actually have 3 former Pro Bowlers in Alejandro Villanueva, Marquise Pouncey, and David DeCastro. And their right tackle actually had the 2nd highest grade. I don't think Marcus Gilbert's ever made a Pro Bowl, but at 81.5, he ranked in the top half at his position as well. So really, you can't sit here and tell that the Steelers don't have a good offensive line when just last year, Pro Football Focus, who, you don't need to go too deep and try to use them for everything, but they are very useful tool at telling you who performed the best in a particular year. You can even go back to 2016. 2016, the Pittsburgh Steelers were ranked the 3rd best offensive line. So I'm not going to go through all the years because we've had this group together now for 4 or 5 years. This unit has been consistent ever since Mike Munchak was hired. I think he was hired in 2016. So at least in the last 3 years or 5, 2014, they were 8th. So as you can see, they gradually got better. And since 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, they consistently top 10, top 5 offensive line ranking by Pro Football Focus. So take your beef up with them if you want to call them a bad. Best course of action for the Steelers right now. And really, Bell, we don't know what's going on his side, so we'll focus on this Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh, all they can do is wait for Bell to show up. They can't offer him a deal. That's against the NFL rules. They can only give him a better deal after the season's over. But he's got to get through the season first for them to give him that better deal. And why would you give a guy a better deal than what you've already offered him, which is $70 million? Why would you sweeten the pot when he's stirring this much drama up, going against his word, And he's not making any sense given the past history that he's had with the injuries, the suspension, just stupid decisions in general, and always a focus on me. Oh, woe is me. My teammates don't support my music career. I mean, all this stuff just adds up, and it's like, why would you sweeten the pot on this guy and he's willing to throw your entire season under the rocks so that for no reason because we can't get him a new deal. He's just willing to derail the whole season for his own selfish return. He wants to ruin everybody else's season just because the Steelers, which the Steelers can't do, they can't give him any money. So yeah, that's fine. He's putting his own self interest over all 52 other men on that team when he could actually show up and make $14.5 million and increase his chances of getting the contract sweetened. He just wants to be a little crybaby about it. So Steelers just need to let him walk. Let him walk. As I said earlier, the transition tag's available, but hopefully nobody signs him and then he just walk. I just want him to walk. Just get off the Steelers. Somebody trade for him. If he's so valuable, you guys say he's a generational talent. Why won't anybody trade for him? If nobody's trading for him, then what are we supposed to do? Because nobody wants him. Ultimately, Steelers just need to go ahead, let him walk, and he can go and test the market how he wants, or put the transition tag is what the best thing is, and see if you can. If you don't get a trade, of course, if you don't get a trade, put a transition tag on. See what somebody offers him. Decide if you want to pay him and not, and let him go. But it's going to be hard and weird for that locker room if he comes back for Week 10, because if he doesn't come back by Week 10, he won't be able to a new deal within a new team. The Steelers would retain him on the same scenario as last year, and they were franchise tag him. That's still the same deal he can do. They retain his rights, and he can do the same $14.5 million tag. So, hey, Bell, ball's in your court, and show up, and you can put an end to this. So I know at the beginning of this episode, I said that I would talk about the matchup with the Eagles and the Falcons last night, but I do want to spend a little more time on that, so we're going to save that to the next episode. But real quickly, let's just do a recap of how bad that game was. I mean, the Falcons were atrocious, and Matt Ryan didn't look deserving of any of the $100 million that he got paid. Julio did. Julio was fantastic. He bailed him out in time after time, but he couldn't bail him out at the end. Not to his fault, but it was just a poorly thrown football. He caught it. He just couldn't get his legs down. And I mean, I like to point out that the Falcons screwed that up completely when I think the biggest mistake, which may have been a result of unnecessary pressure from the media and I won't say a hot seat from the coach, but to go for it on fourth down when you could have took the 3 points away from your home. I can understand if you're at home and it's the season opener, okay, but you're on the road. You're on the road against the defending Super Bowl champs. You got to take those points, and he did not take those 3 points. What that did is, in addition to the missed extra point they had late in that game in the fourth quarter when they were trying to win the game, the score was 18-12. Those 3 points were made 18-15. Now a field goal, you can go in overtime. You have some options of what you want to do. So by electing not to keep the field goal in the first quarter, it really bit them in the butt at the end and caused them to have to go for the win. And obviously, if you have the field goal in the extra point, which the extra point is not the coach's fault, but with the extra point, you could go for the win. Outside for the Eagles' perspective, they didn't look good at all. The Falcons just shot themselves in the foot time and time again. But the Eagles, they look like my prediction is going to be true, and they will miss the playoffs. I did give them the division, just because Wentz will come back, and Wentz will be eventually he'll win those late games for them. But they do not look like a good playoff team, and they look like the last seed if they win the division, because they're not going to get into playoffs as a wild card playing like this. And I think they have somewhat of a Super Bowl hangover. The only question is, can they sneak into playoffs by winning a bad division? Because if the Giants I don't expect them to be world beaters and be Super Bowl contenders, but the Giants can turn things around. They can win this division easily. But that's all we have for today's episode. Tonight, later on, I'm going to try to get another episode with all our predictions for Sunday's game, so you can wake up Sunday morning and peep that out. So, all right, guys. Peace.